A single and poor mother is invited by a wealthy man who wanted to humiliate her to attend a luxurious party. But what she did at the party left everyone stunned. Emily Carter wakes up to the shrill sound of her alarm clock, her body still sunk in the comfort of worn-out sheets. The pale light of dawn filters through the curtains, casting a soft shadow over the modest furnishings of her apartment. With a resigned sigh, she rises from bed, feeling the weight of exhaustion accumulated from a restless night's sleep. Her bare feet touch the cold floor of the small kitchen, where the welcoming smell of freshly brewed coffee already fills the air. With skilled hands and automatic movements, she begins to prepare breakfast for herself and her son Jason, whose childish laughter still echoes in her mind. Each movement is executed with precision, but her mind is elsewhere. As she stirs the eggs in the frying pan, Emily can't help but worry about the uncertain future that lies ahead of her. Bills pile up on the kitchen table, reminding her of the constant struggle to survive in an unforgiving world. Emily looks out the window, watching the city lights flicker on the distant horizon. She wonders what the day holds for her, what challenges and obstacles she will face along the way. But one thing is certain, she cannot afford to give up. Not when Jason depends on her for everything. The eggs sizzle in the frying pan, filling the modest kitchen with a comforting aroma. As Emily attends to the task, her eyes fall on Jason, her precious 8-year-old son, still deep in slumber. A tender smile forms on her lips as she sees him there, so innocent and peaceful, oblivious to the hardships that loom over them. "Good morning, sweetheart," she murmurs affectionately, leaning in to plant a light kiss on his forehead. Jason responds with a sleepy yawn, his eyes slowly opening to meet hers. There was something reassuring in the way he looked at her, an unwavering trust that propelled her forward, no matter how difficult the path ahead. As Jason stretches and settles at the table, Emily feels a wave of gratitude flood her heart. Despite all the adversities they faced, there they were together, facing the world with courage and determination. She knew she had to be strong for Jason, if not for herself. With a soft sigh, Emily turns her attention back to the kitchen, focusing on finishing breakfast. She wonders what the day holds for them, what challenges they will have to face, and how much strength they will have to muster to overcome them. But one thing is certain. No matter what happens, they will face it together side by side as a united family. At the moment the sun slowly rose on the horizon, bathing the kitchen in a soft golden light, Emily felt grateful for another day alongside her son. And even though the future remained uncertain, she knew that as long as they had each other, they had everything they needed to move forward, one step at a time. Emily felt the weight of worries on her shoulders as she prepared for another day of challenges. Bills piled up in her mind like an endless stack of problems to be solved. She knew she couldn't afford to falter, not when her son depended on her for everything. With determination, Emily dressed in her best clothes, though worn from constant use. Each piece of clothing was a tangible reminder of the battles she had faced so far, but also a promise of hope for the future. She looked at herself in the mirror, forcing a smile on her lips despite the anxiety rumbling in her stomach. Jason, watching her with concerned eyes, approached and enveloped her in a tight hug. "Good luck, Mom," he murmured, his voice choked with concern. "You'll get an amazing job, I know it." Emily felt a tightness in her chest, seeing the determination in Jason's eyes. He was her anchor, her reason to keep fighting even in the toughest times. She wanted to share the same confidence he had, but uncertainty hung over her like a shadow, obscuring her path. "Thank you, sweetheart," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I promise I'll do my best." With one last look at her son, Emily took a deep breath and walked out the door, ready to face the day ahead. She knew it wouldn't be easy, but as long as she had Jason by her side, she would find the strength to keep fighting, one step at a time. The sun was already high in the sky as Emily and Jason left home towards the local market. The summer heat reflected off the concrete sidewalks, while the noise of the city echoed around them. Emily held Jason's hand tightly, her heart beating a little faster with the tension of the unfolding day. As they arrived at the market, they were greeted by the frenzy of urban life. people rushing, carrying shopping bags, and talking on the phone as they tried to navigate the narrow aisles. Emily pressed her lips together, determined to find the best deals so they could make every penny they had stretch. As they walked through the crowded aisles of products, Emily felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on her shoulders. She couldn't afford to waste money on frivolous things, not when every penny counted to ensure they had food on the table and a roof over their heads. In the checkout line, Emily felt someone's eyes on her and turned slowly to meet the piercing gaze of a tall, imposing man. Charles Harrison. She swallowed hard, feeling a shiver run down her spine as she recognized the famous businessman. He was known for his coldness in business dealings and ruthlessness in pursuit of profit, and she knew she couldn't let her guard down in his presence. Charles, in turn, watched Emily with interest, his eyes assessing her as if she were a business commodity. He was a man accustomed to getting what he wanted, no matter the cost, and Emily could feel the intensity of his determination even from a distance. The moment in the supermarket checkout line seemed to stretch out for Emily, turning into an eternity of anguish. She watched the numbers on the checkout screen, mentally calculating the total of her purchases and comparing it to the meager amount of money she had in her wallet. Cold sweat began to accumulate on her forehead as she realized she wouldn't have enough funds to cover all the expenses. Her heart raced faster, panic threatening to suffocate her as she desperately tried to find a solution. But before she could gather the courage to explain her situation to the cashier and perhaps leave some items behind, a voice sounded beside her, cutting through the tense silence of the line. "I'll pay," the voice declared, calm and firm. Emily turned slowly, her eyes meeting those of a tall, imposing man beside her. Charles Harrison. She swallowed hard, taken aback by the unexpected offer of help. For a moment she considered refusing. After all, she didn't want to be seen as a beggar in front of a stranger. But the urgency of her situation and Charles's apparent generosity left her with no choice. I can't accept," Emily murmured, her voice wavering. Charles simply shook his head, insisting with a determined gesture. He placed a $100 bill on the counter, pushing it in the direction of the cashier. Emily looked at him with gratitude and bewilderment, not understanding why someone like him would be willing to help her, a single mother struggling to survive. "Thank you," she finally said, her voice choked with emotion. Charles only nodded in response, his piercing gaze revealing little of his true intentions. Emily took the money from the cashier, feeling the weight of the debt hanging over her. She knew she would have to repay that gesture somehow, but for now, the only thing she could do was accept the help that had been offered to her. Charles watched Emily and Jason walk away, lost in the crowd bustling through the market. His piercing gaze captured every move she made, every gesture of gratitude and bewilderment she expressed. An idea began to form in his mind, a plan that could change the course of their lives in ways he could barely anticipate. He waited patiently, observing them until they finally reached the parking lot. Hidden in the shadows, he discreetly followed them, keeping a safe distance as he waited for the right moment to approach. When Emily and Jason finally reached their car, Charles stepped forward, his heart beating a little faster with anticipation of what he was about to do. "Sorry to intrude," he began, causing them to turn with surprise written on their faces. "I know this might seem strange, but I would like to invite you to a party I'm hosting tonight. It would be an honor to have you and your son as my guests." Emily felt her heart leap in her chest at the unexpected invitation. She looked at Charles with a mixture of curiosity and suspicion, her mind spinning with possibilities. She knew she couldn't simply accept without questioning the intentions behind Charles's seemingly generous gesture. "Thank you for the invitation, but," she started, her voice faltering. Jason, on the other hand, looked at Charles with bright eyes of enthusiasm, his imagination already soaring with the idea of a glamorous party. He squeezed Emily's hand tightly, his face lit up by a radiant smile. Emily looked at him, her heart tight with the responsibility of protecting her son from potential disappointments. With a resigned sigh, she finally relented, accepting the invitation with a mixture of gratitude and caution. She knew this party could be the opportunity they had been waiting for, but it also represented a leap into the unknown. However, she was determined to face the challenge head-on for Jason, if not for herself. The night finally fell, enveloping the city in a cloak of darkness speckled with the twinkling lights of lampposts and establishments. Emily stood before the mirror, a whirlwind of emotions swirling in her chest as she prepared for the party that would change the course of their lives. She wore a simple yet elegant dress, chosen with Jason's careful help. Every time her fingers touched the soft fabric, she felt a wave of gratitude for her son who loved her unconditionally. Her hair was carefully arranged, soft strands framing her face, while a light makeup accentuated her delicate features. Emily looked at herself in the mirror, her eyes reflecting the mix of nervousness and determination she felt. She knew she was about to step into an unfamiliar world, a world where she didn't belong, but where she hoped to find an opportunity for herself and Jason. Beside her, Jason watched with admiration, his eyes shining with pride. "You look beautiful, Mom," he said with a radiant smile. "I'm sure everyone will love you at the party." Jason's words warmed Emily's heart, dissipating some of the anxiety that consumed her. She knew she had to be strong, not only for herself but also for him. With a grateful smile, she approached and hugged him tenderly. "Thank you, my love. Let's go and see what fate has in store for us." Holding Jason's hand, Emily felt more determined than ever as they made their way to the event that could be the key to a better future. She was ready to face the unknown, to fight for a better life for herself and her son, no matter what fate held in store. Charles Harrison's party was a spectacle of luxury and extravagance, seeming to have been plucked straight from the pages of a celebrity magazine. The grand hall was decorated with refinement shimmering chandeliers hung from the high ceiling, illuminating elegantly dressed guests with their finest clothes and sparkling jewels. The air was infused with the sound of polished laughter and lively conversations, as waiters circulated among the attendees, offering glasses of champagne and finely prepared canapés. Emily felt like a fish out of water in that environment of opulence and glamour. She observed the guests with a mixture of admiration and discomfort, her own modesty standing out against the backdrop of wealth and sophistication. Her eyes scanned the elegant figures around her, capturing every detail of the impeccable attire and glittering jewelry. She felt as though she were in a completely different world, one to which she did not belong. As she circulated through the room, Emily tried to maintain a neutral expression on her face, hiding the feelings of inadequacy that plagued her. She knew she was there because of Jason, because of the opportunities the party could bring for them. But still, it was hard to ignore the feeling of being out of place, of being an intruder in a world to which she did not belong. Jason, by her side, seemed entirely at ease in that luxurious environment, his eyes shining with excitement at all the pomp and circumstance. He admired everything with a mixture of awe and fascination, absorbing each detail with childlike curiosity. Emily smiled at him, grateful for her son's innocence and enthusiasm, which seemed oblivious to the gap between their lives and those around them. As Emily tried to acclimate to the opulent environment, she couldn't help but wonder about Charles's true intentions in inviting them to the party. She knew he was a shrewd businessman, capable of manipulating situations to his own advantage. She wondered what he hoped to achieve by bringing them into that exclusive circle of influential people. Emily tried to blend into the crowd, her mind a tumultuous mixture of nervousness and determination. She greeted the other guests with a nervous smile, trying to ignore the disdainful looks that seemed to follow her everywhere. Each step she took was like walking on unfamiliar ground, and she felt increasingly isolated amidst the dazzling opulence. However, her authenticity and kindness began to attract the attention of those present. Some of the more receptive guests approached her to converse, praising her simplicity amidst the extravagant spectacle surrounding them. Emily felt uncomfortable with so much attention, but also grateful for the welcoming gesture in such an intimidating environment. Meanwhile, Charles watched Emily from afar, his thoughts entangled in a web of reflections and doubts. He couldn't take his eyes off her, impressed by her grace and determination in the face of such adverse circumstances. A woman like her, with her inner strength and unwavering courage, was something he wasn't accustomed to encountering in his privileged social circle. He realized he had profoundly underestimated this brave and determined woman. She was not just a single mother struggling to survive, but someone with a resilience and inner light that left him perplexed. Charles began to question his own motivations for inviting her to the party. Was he truly interested in helping her? Or was there something more behind his seemingly generous gesture? The crucial moment arrived when the hall filled with anticipation for Charles Harrison's toast. He stood up, raising his crystal glass with a calculated smile. The guests' eyes turned to him, awaiting his words. "My dear guests," he began, his voice echoing through the hall with authority. "Today at this party we celebrate not only opulence and success, but also generosity and inclusion." His eyes gleamed with veiled malice as he cast a meaningful glance in Emily's direction. However, before he could conclude his speech, Emily rose from her chair with determination, her challenging gaze fixed on Charles. "Excuse me, Mr. Harrison," she said, her sharp voice cutting through the hall amidst the tense silence. "I refuse to be used as a pawn in your game of power and status. I came here in search of real opportunities, not to be humiliated before an audience of imposters." The guests exchanged glances, surprised by Emily's boldness. Some murmured among themselves, expressing their admiration for her courage. Others cast disapproving looks in Charles's direction, questioning his true intentions in inviting someone like Emily to the party. Charles, meanwhile, felt stunned by the unexpected turn of events. He hadn't expected Emily to react with such firmness and determination. A sense of discomfort settled in his chest as he realized he had gravely underestimated the single mother before him. "Sorry," he murmured, his voice barely audible amidst the awkward silence. He lowered his glass, suddenly feeling ashamed of his own actions. With a resigned nod, he stepped away, leaving Emily and the other guests to celebrate the true spirit of community and solidarity that had been revealed that night. In the aftermath of the unexpected turn at the party, Emily felt a mixture of relief and anxiety. The sharp words exchanged with Charles Harrison echoed in her mind, mixed with a sense of pride for standing firm in the face of adversity. As she gathered her scattered thoughts, Sarah Reynolds approached with a look of genuine admiration on her face. Emily knew Sarah by sight, a prominent figure in the local community, known for her business success and generosity. "Emily," Sarah said with a warm smile, extending her hand in greeting. "I was impressed by your courage tonight. You showed admirable integrity in the face of adversity." Emily returned the greeting, feeling flattered by Sarah's sincere praise. "Thank you," she replied, her voice still echoing with the tension of the confrontation at the party. "I was just trying to do what was right for me and my son." Sarah nodded approvingly, her eyes shining with unwavering determination. "And that's exactly why I'm here," she explained. "I see tremendous potential in you, Emily. Your strength and work ethic did not go unnoticed by me." Emily felt a wave of hope and gratitude flooding her heart at Sarah's words. A job offer was not something she had expected, especially after the tumultuous night at Charles Harrison's party. "I would be honored to have you as part of my team," Sarah continued, her voice resonating with conviction. "I have a network of dealerships and am always on the lookout for talented and dedicated people like you. What do you say, Emily? Are you willing to embark on a new journey?" Emily was moved by the surprising offer. It was a golden opportunity, a chance to turn her life and Jason's around. With a radiant smile, she reached out her hand to Sarah. "Yes," Emily replied firmly, her eyes shining with renewed determination. "I'm ready for this. Thank you, Sarah, for believing in me." Days turned into weeks and weeks into months since Emily accepted Sarah Reynolds' job offer. Each morning began with the same frenetic pace, getting Jason ready for school, having breakfast, and rushing to work. But now there was a new determination in her steps, a sense of purpose that had once seemed so distant. In the bustling environment of the dealership, Emily immersed herself in her responsibilities, absorbing every detail of the automotive business. Her co-workers quickly recognized her tireless commitment and exceptional ability to deal with customers and solve problems. "Emily, you did an amazing job with that client today," praised Greg, one of the dealership managers, as he passed by her desk. "Your approach was flawless. I'm impressed." Emily smiled, grateful for the recognition. Greg's compliment meant more to her than he could imagine. It was validation of all the effort she had been putting into her work, a confirmation that she was on the right path to building a better future for herself and Jason. Over time, her confidence grew, as did her ambition. She began to envision possibilities beyond the dealership walls, dreaming of the day when she could have her own business, offering not just cars, but also hope and opportunities for those in need. As she delved deeper into her work, the shadow of the events at Charles Harrison's party began to slowly fade away. She realized that it wasn't the harsh words or disdainful glances that defined who she was, but rather her actions and character. Emily became an inspiration not only to those around her, but also to herself. She discovered an inner strength she never knew she possessed, an unwavering determination that propelled her forward even in the toughest moments. And as she continued her journey of self-discovery and growth, one thing was certain: the future was brimming with possibilities, and she was ready to embrace them with open arms. Following the embarrassing episode at the party, Charles Harrison finds himself immersed in a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. The man who once took pride in his position of power now faces the challenge of rebuilding his reputation and restoring the trust he lost. In the days that followed the event, Charles found himself isolated, distant from his business colleagues and friends. The aura of prestige that once surrounded him suddenly vanished, replaced by the shadow of the scandal he had created himself. Sitting in his luxurious office, Charles reflects on the choices that brought him there. He realizes that despite his material achievements, there is a void within him that no financial success can fill. He begins to question the true meaning of his life and the legacy he wishes to leave behind. "Are you all right, Mr. Harrison?" asks his assistant, noting the worried expression on his face. Charles sighs, unsure of how to respond. "I'm trying to figure that out," he answers honestly, his words echoing through the silent office. As he delves into his own journey of self-discovery, Charles realizes he can no longer avoid responsibility for his actions. He decides to confront the scandal head-on, publicly taking responsibility for his inappropriate behavior at the party. The first time he speaks about the incident publicly is a moment of humility and vulnerability for Charles. He acknowledges his faults and expresses sincere remorse for any harm he may have caused Emily and others present at the party. The public reaction is mixed, with some skeptical of the sincerity of his words while others seem willing to give him a second chance. Charles understands that redemption won't come overnight, but he is determined to rebuild his life and reputation, step by step. As days turn into weeks and weeks into months, Charles embarks on a journey of self-improvement and personal growth. He gets involved in charity projects and dedicates time and resources to helping the less fortunate. As he reconnects with his own humanity, Charles finds a new purpose in his life. He realizes that true power doesn't lie in material wealth or social influence, but rather in the ability to make a difference in the lives of those around him. And as he continues his journey of redemption, Charles discovers that true happiness is not found outwardly, but within himself. He finds peace and fulfillment not in the pursuit of power or prestige, but in becoming a better person with each passing day. The years unfold into a journey of ups and downs for Emily. After the whirlwind of difficulties she faced, stability finally became a reality. The new home, though modest, was a sanctuary of safety and comfort where she and Jason could finally breathe easy. As she looked out the living room window, Emily watched the sun set over the horizon, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink. The twilight brought with it a sense of peace and gratitude she never imagined she would feel. While she savored these moments of tranquility, her mind inevitably wandered to Charles. The man who once epitomized everything she scorned in society now held a special place in her heart. Their relationship had evolved from a simple friendship into something deeper and more significant. As Emily and Charles venture in separate directions, destiny seems to weave their threads. intertwining their paths in an unexpected manner. Months have passed since that fateful party, and Emily found herself immersed in her new life, focusing on her work at the dealership and raising Jason. She dedicated herself tirelessly to building a stable and happy life for the two of them, steadfast in her responsibilities and trying to leave behind the memories of the tumultuous past. However, destiny has a curious way of surprising us when we least expect it. Emily is stunned when Sarah, her dedicated boss, invites her to attend a charity event organized by the company. The idea initially makes her uncomfortable, feeling out of place amidst the pomp and elegance she imagined encountering. But Sarah, with her captivating persuasion, convinces her that this is an unmissable opportunity for the company and for her personal growth. As Emily prepares for the event, her mind wanders, echoing with echoes of the past. She finds herself immersed in thoughts about Charles, wondering what has happened to him since that night, and if he has truly changed. Part of her longs to rekindle a connection that was abruptly cut off, while another part is determined to maintain the walls she has built around herself, fearing what a reunion could trigger. When Emily finally enters the charity event hall, her expectations are challenged as she comes face to face with Charles. He is there, no longer the imposing businessman she remembered, but someone transformed by adversity. His eyes reflect genuine sincerity and his commitment to the cause is palpable. Emily watches him from afar, a whirlwind of emotions stirring her heart as she struggles to reconcile the past with the present. The discreet glances between them are like sparks in a dark night, laden with unspoken meanings and unanswered questions. Emily feels a mix of curiosity and apprehension as she watches Charles interact with the other guests, his gentle gestures and compassionate words revealing a side of him she had never seen before. As the night progresses and the guests embrace the generous spirit of the occasion, Emily realizes that destiny may have reserved more than just a chance encounter between them. She wonders if this is a second chance, an opportunity to explore what could have been and what still could be. But deep in her mind, a voice whispers caution, reminding her of the lessons learned and the scars left behind. On a quiet night as they sat on the terrace sharing stories and laughter, Emily felt her heart beat faster in Charles's presence. She found herself admiring the way the moonlight reflected in his eyes, highlighting the intensity of their connection. "Have you ever thought about what it would be like if we had met under different circumstances?" Emily asked, her voice laden with curiosity and emotion. Charles looked at her tenderly, a hint of sadness shining in his eyes. "Sometimes, yes, but ultimately I'm grateful for every choice that has brought us here." Charles's response brought a sense of comfort to Emily. She knew that despite the adversities they faced, they were together now, building a future based on love and mutual understanding. As time went by, Emily and Charles discovered new layers of each other, delving into the depths of their innermost thoughts and feelings. And as their connection continued to flourish, they realized they were destined to share a life together, facing challenges with courage and determination. After the whirlwind that had been his life in recent years, Charles Harrison finally found a path to redemption. He left behind the remnants of selfishness and arrogance that had accompanied him and plunged headfirst into a new life of humility and empathy. Walking through the city streets, Charles noticed a change in the way people looked at him. Previously, it was a gaze of disdain and suspicion. Now it was one of respect and even admiration. He realized it wasn't too late to become a better person, someone who could make a difference in the lives of those around him. One day, while volunteering at a local shelter, Charles encountered a man who recognized him from the party where Emily confronted him. The man, named David, had witnessed the embarrassing episode, but now looked at Charles with a mixture of surprise and respect. "It's you, isn't it?" "The man from the party?" David said, his voice laden with curiosity. Charles nodded, feeling a lump form in his throat. He knew his past would still haunt him, but he was determined to face the consequences of his actions. "Yes, it's me," Charles replied, his voice filled with sincerity. "And I'm trying to do the right things now, trying to be a better person." David looked at him for a moment, weighing his words. After a moment, he reached out his hand to Charles. "Everyone deserves a second chance," David said, a slight smile forming on his lips. "And it looks like you're on the right path to seize yours." Those words touched Charles deeply. He knew he still had a long way to go, but he was determined to move forward with humility and determination. As the days passed, Charles found himself increasingly involved in charity projects and volunteering. He discovered a genuine satisfaction in helping others and making a difference in the world, a feeling he had never experienced before. Although the path to redemption was long and arduous, Charles was determined to move forward with courage and dignity. He knew he couldn't change the past, but he was determined to shape the future in a way that brought light and hope to those around him. The event hall glimmers with soft lights and gentle music, creating a backdrop of elegance and sophistication. Emily moves among the guests, trying to remain discreet as her heart beats with a mix of nervousness and anticipation. She feels the tension in the air as her gaze meets Charles's, an invisible current of energy vibrating between them. "Charles," Emily replies, her voice echoing with forced serenity. She struggles to control the tumultuous emotions threatening to overflow. "I appreciate your words, but what's done is done. We can't change what happened." Charles looks at her earnestly, his face reflecting a mixture of regret and determination. "I know I can't change the past, Emily, but I want to do the right things now. I want to show you that I've changed, that I've learned from my mistakes." Emily watches him cautiously, her heart wavering between hope and distrust. She wants to believe him, wants to believe that people can change, but the scars of the past are still fresh in her mind. "And what have you done to change?" she asks, her eyes searching his for a sincere answer. Charles sighs, his expression reflecting a mixture of resignation and determination. "I've been working hard to become a better person, to reconnect with my community and make a difference where I can. I want to be someone you can be proud of, Emily." Emily ponders his words, feeling torn between the desire to believe him and the fear of getting hurt again. She knows she can't simply forget the past, but she also can't ignore the possibility of a different future. "I want to believe in you, Charles," she murmurs finally, "but only time will tell if you've truly changed." Charles nods, his expression serious. "I completely understand, Emily. I just ask for a chance to prove to you that I'm serious." As the two continue to talk, the noise of the party fades into the background, leaving them immersed in their own bubble of tension and anticipation. What the future holds for them is still uncertain, but one thing is clear. Tonight marks the beginning of a new journey for Emily and Charles, a journey that only time will reveal its true destiny. Emily watches Charles with a mix of emotions: surprise, caution, and a glimmer of hope. Her eyes, once filled with suspicion, now search his for signs of sincerity. She notices a change in him, a vulnerability he seems to be revealing for the first time. "I never meant to hurt you, Emily," says Charles, his voice heavy with regret. "I acted impulsively at that party, letting my ego and pride take control. But since then, I've been reflecting a lot on my actions." Emily listens in silence, her expression gradually softening. She struggles to find the truth she so desperately wants to hear in his words. "And what have you discovered?" she asks, maintaining a firm yet receptive tone. Charles sighs, feeling the weight of his own faults. "I've realized I was wrong to judge you without truly knowing you. I see now how petty I was to let superficiality guide my actions. You deserve more than that, Emily. You deserve respect and consideration." Emily takes in his words, pondering what he says. She remembers the wounds his past actions caused, but she also senses the honesty in his voice now. Is it possible to forgive someone who hurt her so deeply? After a tense moment of silence, Emily finally speaks, her voice laden with restrained emotion. "I want to believe you've changed, Charles. I want to believe we can leave the past behind and move forward. But you need to understand it will take time to rebuild the broken trust." Charles nods, accepting Emily's conditions. I understand, Emily, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to earn your trust again. I won't waste this second chance. Emily looks at him, seeing in him a reflection of her own quest for redemption. She knows the road ahead will be difficult, but she also feels a spark of hope igniting in her heart. Perhaps, against all odds, they can find the peace and happiness they both yearn for. Emily and Charles stand at an emotional crossroads, where the weight of the past dissolves in the possibility of a different future. Yet there's a palpable tension in the air as they both strive to leave behind the hurt and misunderstandings. "So where do we begin?" asks Emily, breaking the tense silence that hangs between them. Charles looks at her seriously, his eyes expressing a renewed determination. "I think we should start by being honest with each other, about everything." Emily nods, acknowledging the importance of this first step. "Right, so I'll start. I still harbor resentment for what happened at the party. It was humiliating and hard to overcome." Charles lowers his gaze for a moment before raising it again to meet hers. "I completely understand, Emily. And I'm truly sorry for what I caused you that night. It was a moment of weakness and stupidity on my part." There's a pause as Emily absorbs his words, her heart heavy with the pain of the past. "I want to believe that you've changed, Charles. But I can't easily forget what happened." Charles takes a deep breath, knowing there's still a long way to go. "I know it won't be easy to rebuild the broken trust between us, but I'm willing to try. For you, for us." Emily smiles shyly, a small spark of hope igniting within her. "I'm willing to try too, Charles. For a fresh start." They look at each other for a moment, sharing a mutual understanding that goes beyond words. It's the beginning of a journey of healing and redemption, where forgiveness and understanding become the foundations of their relationship. The blossoming friendship between Emily and Charles evolves into a bond that exceeds both of their expectations. As they spend more time together, sharing moments of laughter and deep conversations, they realize there's something more between them, something beyond mere friendship. "It's strange how close we've become, even after everything that happened," Emily comments as she and Charles stroll through the park on a sunny afternoon. Charles smiles, agreeing. "It's as if we were destined to find each other again, this time under different circumstances." Emily looks at him, noting the sincerity in his gaze. She wonders if this new path they're walking together could lead to something more than just friendship. In the evening, as they share a homemade meal, conversation flows naturally between them. Charles talks about his dreams and hopes for the future, revealing a vulnerability Emily hadn't seen before. "I've always felt trapped by others' expectations," Charles confesses, "but being by your side has made me realize that I can truly be happy being myself." Emily listens attentively, touched by the sincerity of his words. She finds herself opening her own heart, sharing her own deepest fears and desires. As the night progresses, they realize that this special connection they share goes beyond friendship. There's a spark of romance in the air, a palpable tension that keeps them captivated by each other. It's the beginning of something new and exciting, a journey of love and self-discovery that will take them to places they never imagined. Emily and Charles's new journey is filled with unforeseen challenges and moments of tension that test their determination and trust in each other. As they venture down this unknown path, they find themselves facing adversities that challenge their faith in the relationship they're building. On a rainy afternoon, Emily and Charles find themselves discussing the future while sitting at the kitchen table, the sound of rain gently tapping against the windows. "I don't know if I can do this," murmurs Emily, looking at Charles with concern. "It's so hard dealing with so many responsibilities and uncertainties." Charles sighs, running a hand through his hair as he struggles to find the right words. "I understand, Emily, but we're in this together. No matter what happens, I'll be by your side." Emily looks at him, seeing the determination in his eyes. She feels comforted by his support, but a part of her is still filled with doubts and fears. As the days go by, they face challenges that threaten to shake their faith in each other. But despite the difficulties, they find strength in each other, supporting one another and facing each obstacle head-on. On a starry night, they find themselves gazing at the sky as they walk hand in hand along the beach. The sound of waves gently breaking on the shore echoes around them, creating a tranquil and serene setting. "I love you, Emily," says Charles, looking at her tenderly. "No matter what happens, I'll always be here for you." Emily smiles, feeling her heart fill with love and gratitude. She knows that with Charles by her side, they can face any challenge life throws their way. In the culmination of Emily and Charles's journey, they finally achieve the happiness and fulfillment they have longed for, discovering that true love can transcend any social barrier or life-imposed challenge. In a moment of deep reflection, they realize that the strength of the human spirit is unshakable when fueled by mutual love and the determination to move forward, regardless of circumstances. Sitting by a serene lake, Emily and Charles share a moment of peace and tranquility, watching the golden reflections of the sunset on the calm water. The silence around them is only filled by the gentle sound of the breeze rustling the leaves of nearby trees. "It's amazing how things have changed since we first met," Emily comments, shifting her gaze from the horizon to Charles. Her eyes convey a mixture of gratitude and contentment. Charles nods, smiling at her. "Yes, it feels like it was ages ago, but I'm grateful we've overcome everything together." As twilight settles around them, they engage in intimate conversation, sharing memories of their challenges and triumphs along the way. Each word exchanged is a reminder of how much they've grown as individuals and as a couple, strengthening their bond with every obstacle overcome. As they reflect on their journey, Emily and Charles realize that their experiences were not just a quest for personal happiness, but also a lesson for those around them. They understand that their tales of love and redemption can inspire others to seek the same kind of fulfillment in their own lives. And so, as the sun sets on the horizon and the stars begin to dot the night sky, Emily and Charles embrace, celebrating not only their mutual love but also the journey of self-discovery and growth that brought them there. They know that their story is living proof that, with courage and determination, true love and redemption are always within reach for those who dare to pursue them. So what did you think of this amazing story? Share your opinions in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Turn on the notification bell to be notified of each new video. Until next time.